They asked about Shem Tov. How is a person supposed to feel love to Hashem? He doesn't see Hashem. Baal Shem Tov says, love people. You start loving people and you start having gratitude to people, you'll eventually have gratitude to the Borei Olam. Vatikra Shmoi Moshe. She called, Basya called Moshe Rabbeinu Moshe, Vatomer, and she said, Ki min amayim mishisu, because I pulled him out of the water. Now, the Medrash says Moshe Rabbeinu had 10 names. It tells us that Amram gave Moshe Rabbeinu the name Chaver. Yocheved gave Moshe Rabbeinu the name Yekusiel. Miriam gave Moshe Rabbeinu the name Yered. And Aaron gave Moshe Rabbeinu the name Aviza Noach. And yet the name that Moshe Rabbeinu is known for is not the name given to him by the Gadol Adar Amram, not the name that his 130-year-old miraculous mother Yocheved gave him, not the name that Miriam, who caused him to be born, telling her father that you're worse than Paro because you separating from your wife, you're decreeing against boys and girls and you're taking away even their Olam Haba. No. Not Aaron's name. Pure-minded Aaron, Avizinov. No. The former Egyptian princess, Basya, her name is the name that Moshe Rabbeinu is known for throughout the Torah, throughout the ages. Now we know that it's a name that was given after a miracle. And that is the style to give names after a miracle. We know, Ki min hamayim mishisu, I drew him out of the water. We know her hand miraculously telescoped out 400 amas. So she named him Moshe, that this miracle happened. And that's the way of names, like Moshe Rabbeinu, who the executioner already had the big knife coming down on his neck. And his neck turned to marble, Vayatzileni Elikei Avi Be'ezri, Vayatzileni Cherev Paran. That's why he called Eliezer. Yeah. And we know that we have a name Yaakov, that when Esav, who was fully grown and had molars and front teeth and a beard, and he pushed his fully grown sole, his heel, down onto the fontanelle of baby Yaakov, was a regular baby. And Yaakov's hand was able to stave away Esav's heel. V'yodei echezes ba'kev Esav. So it was a miracle. His name Yaakov. He said there's a name Ganesha. If it's a miraculous birth, Ganesha, some say Gimel Nun Shinei, Neis Gadol Yasham, it's after a miracle. And we also know that Moshe is an appropriate name because Moshe is the same letters as Hashem. And Moshe is Le'ro Ponim El Ponim Ki Moshe. We also know that Moshe, he was a shepherd, and one of the animals wasn't well, he had a fever. And Moshe Rabbeinu took him and carried him on his shoulder. So Hashem said, that's the way you take care of your flock, I want you to take care of my flock. So Moshe is also Miseh, from a sheep he was chosen. It's also the letters of Miseh. Moshe is B'Gematria 345. So with a lamed, with the lamed, what happened over here? What's going on today? Why did I lose everybody? Let's try to read. Interesting night tonight. So with a lamed, Moshe would be 375. Right? And that's the gematria of Tzipora. Tzipora without a vav is 375. Because she was the mate of Moshe. So Moshe, Moshe, the one that would be to Moshe is gematria Tzipora. So Moshe is a very appropriate name. But the Mefarshim add that there's something else. The name that Bisya gave stuck because it was a name that represented sacrifice. She defied her father's command of Kala ben Ayilay Yayra Tashlichua to take Moshe Rabbeinu out of the water. That Mesiras Nefesh, that sacrifice, that's why that name stuck. And that sacrifice, listen carefully, that sacrifice, that remained with Moshe Rabbeinu throughout his life. Moshe Rabbeinu would see, he had a very cushy position in the palace, he risked everything, he saw an Egyptian hitting a Yid, and he killed the Egyptian. He risked everything. That sacrifice would be with him throughout his career. When Klal Yisrael was being threatened by obliteration because of their sin of the golden calf, Moshe Rabbeinu again said the ultimate sacrifice. Forgive them, if not, im ayin mecheni na misifrecha, erase me. Do you know what the Medrash says? When Moshe Rabbeinu asked to enter into Eretz Yisrael, Hashem says, I can, but then I would have to renege on the forgiveness of the golden calf. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, better lose 100 Moshe Rabbeinus than to have Klal Yisrael suffer. His life was a life of sacrifice. But that came from the name Moshe. That's Ibasia's name. She risked everything to take him out of the water. She could have been put to death for defying the order of the king. You don't defy the order of the king in those days. One more thought. Vayar Moshe. Moshe saw that Dasan and Aviram were going to inform on him. He saw, and it's like he saw a light bulb. Now I understand. Now I understand. Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't understand why the Jews, why they're suffering so much. But when he saw that there were Dalei Torah, that there were people that were ready to speak Lashon Hara, wait a second. We just said the Jews didn't circumcise themselves. We just said, we know that in Egypt they succumbed and they worshipped idolatry. There were plenty of reasons that they could be punished. But Lashon Hara, that's worse than not circumcising. That's worse than idolatry. In Yerushalmi Peah, it says that the three most grievous sins, the three most heinous sins are Avodah Zarah, Gilui Arayos, and Shvichas Damim. Idolatry, murder, and immorality. The Lashon Hara keneged kulam. But Lashon Hara is worse than them all. Lashon Hara is the worst. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu said, now I understand. And this is yet tracing back to the Dibarah that Yosef spoke to his father, which unleashed the whole saga of Mitzrayim. And that's why we were afflicted by Paro, whose Paro is a anagram of Perah, the one with the foul mouth. And that's why on Pesach, when we want to commemorate the right way to do things, we celebrate with Haggadah. We celebrate with the Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim and saying the right things. Hakol hoylech achar hapeh. Everything goes according to the mouth. That's a big lesson that Moshe Rabbeinu said, Lashon Hara, now I understand. You see suffering? If there's Lashon Hara, that's how bad Lashon Hara is. You see suffering? Lashon Hara, achein noidadavar. That's why we have all over Klal Yisrael, when they want to do something, they have machsom lepi. Machsom lepeh. People accept upon themselves hours that they won't speak Lashon Hara for a chayla. Because Lashon Hara is the undoing. Now I understand. I want to thank the Rubin family. If you would like to sponsor the next week's Chumash share on Ve'era, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com. If you would like to join our Zoom Daf Yomi, Motzi Shabbos at 7:45, 2 blat, go to zoomdaf.com and put it in meeting code RMMW. Meeting code RMMW. We want to thank you very, very much for joining us and wish you a wonderful Shabbos.